So just before we continue with those stories, I'd just like to introduce our guest in studio today. His name is Johnson Derry. Johnson Derry is a corporate finance manager from ABC Capital. Johnson, it's good to have you. It's a long while. Of course, we want to start with the story of the Java's, of course, acquisition by Abraj. And of course, we'll get into the detail of it. But what do you make of it? We're looking at a lot of more interest, especially by international partners, on local, shall I say, success stories in the country.
Well, obviously, investors, strategic investors or investors in specialized fields have always been looking to get into Africa in a bid to diversify, their geographically and grow their top lines as well. But the one problem for Africa has always been scale. So when you're talking about transactions coming, I mean, why would anybody fly in from New York to Nairobi on a $1 million deal? That won't work. So they go for scale. That's what they used to, and they're now popping up deals that I mean, we are seeing deals that are providing that scale. We've seen in the past, as you've mentioned, Java, Old Mutual with Centum and Two Rivers, and we've seen a lot of these deals coming through. And as Kenya's economy grows and there's more integration and urbanization, then you can see a lot more developments delivering the skill that's required, and then you'll see a lot more private equity interest in the country.
I must admit that there's a lot of secrecy, of course, into all the deals that go in through, of course, mainly that take place in the boards. But from what you make of it, can you be able to have a scale of even such of other future acquisitions in this of this magnitude, I should say?
Well, obviously they'll pick up. I think from what we know in the private, in the listed companies, like Centum, for example, that is a core to their strategy. So exits via sales to strategic investors is built in. So you've already seen a couple. You'll see more in the insurance sector. You're likely to see more as well because of regulatory changes. You've already seen Prudential and interest from Morocco coming in. Banking as well. You've seen from Mauritius and even from Tanzania and from Nigeria. So you can expect to see more. Technology, a favorite for foreign investors. Especially with the success of things like M-Pesa. So as Kenya, and I think it's going to be driven largely by like the stock market, because that's the first route they come in through.
Did you find it interesting that even investment is not quite slowing, even as we say we're getting to an election year, about what, 34 days to go?
Yeah, well, well, you see, these people have long-term views, and in fact, this is the best time to buy. I mean, if your idea is to buy cheap, what a better time than now, So it's a very good incentive to drive in investment. They take opportunities as they come, not when they want to. So that really dictates quite a bit of their strategy.
Great. Just before we get into, of course, Barclays and Nakumatt, I just want to draw attention to our viewers. Of course, what is to expect on your copy of the Business Daily. We want to bring your attention as you just have the front page there. We apologize to our viewers. Of course, the picture we had on our dailies today was not that of Kevin Ashley, the founder and chairman of Java House. That's the correct picture you have right there. So, of course, we lead to the story on the 1.3 billion shillings. Of course, he's set to pocket after this acquisition by Abraj Group. That's on the main page, and of course that with the correct picture of Kevin Ashley, and a lot more on the corporate news. Of course, Johnson, I'll be asking you this about the trans-century exit of Zeph Mbugua, who served the board for about 18 years, and of course getting more details onto that. This is actually coming in 2 weeks after an exit of a similar board chair. Of course, a lot more on the economy and politics segment on your copy of the Business Daily. So yes, let's start from there. Trans-century.
Yes.
We have Zeph Mbugua exiting. Of course, this is after the acquisition of Kuramo Capital. And what the current chairman says, the CEO of Kuramo Capital, is that really it's kind of a natural progression after the injection of capital from, a different entity. But Don't you sense there's some bit of, a bit of controversy in the board, because in just in the 2 weeks we've had directors just leave?
Well, not really, not quite. I wouldn't go that far. TransCentury was I mean, they had the bond that they needed to refinance, and they took the route of injecting a strategic, inviting a strategic investor to manage that. And the strategic investor came with his money. And of course, having brought in your funds and going with your quota on the board, then you bring in the skill set that you require, and that may or may not require a change in the board of the acquired company, but more often than not, there is usually a change, and so you should look at it in that light.
Let's look at, of course, the critical one. Just as we wrap up on TransCentury, of course, they've even increased its stake in Civicon, and they're saying that they're actually foreseeing a lot more on the robust infrastructure increase. How do you sense this?
Well, perhaps they're looking at the manifestos of both Jubilee and NASA, and they're saying that's where the opportunities are.
Okay.
So yeah, they're positioning themselves to benefit a lot more on those opportunities.